Some people might still be asleep. The sun was up so early this morning. It was absolutely fabulous. And just to feel, or just not to feel, but just to see the brightness of the day, right? It's just absolutely nice. Just it feels good. Feels good. So welcome everybody, and thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching the replay. So I'm just coming in very briefly with some uh, uh, a lot of revelations that I've been having. Revelations. Well, uh, that sounds really profound, doesn't it? I'm having revelations. Woohoo! uh, it sounded very profound. Yesterday, I just have to do a shout out to the expo. It was really, really nice. I have to say that I've been to many expos, and it wasn't extravagant or really over, like huge ones, which I've been to as well. But what I loved about it was there was a community energy around there, which was really nice. There wasn't I guess nitty gritty biting. Ooh, what is she doing? What is she doing? And that, it was because okay, there's so much going through my head right now. Um, it just felt really nice. It felt really nice to be there. Hey, good morning, Jillian. To be there and the thing was, before, what I've been doing lately, some of the things I'll just fill you in, is that I did a novena. And a novena means 9 days. So it's a 9-day prayer that I was doing. And the 9-day prayer was to St. Jude. And St. Jude is known as the patron saint of hopeless cases. So I really like him. So I did a novena for 9 days and wasn't expecting too much about it. And it was a novena to help me to open up and, it to help me to create abundance and that within my life. And I didn't know what to expect. In fact, the thing is that I kept on receiving an information that said, don't have expectations. And even when I go to the expo, don't have any expectations. And we are so much in our life, we want expectations. We are expecting it. And where when we're going to go do something or do something, we'll have an expectation, or we'll do a a prayer or a chant or a mantra, or do something upon our altar, or something along that line, for an expectation, for something to be a certain way. This is what I'm expecting it to be. And I was receiving, like, don't have any expectations. uh Things will pick up after 11. I'm just like, okay, it starts at 9. So I set up my booth and set up everything else. And I was like, okay. So I thought, oh, screw it. You know what? It's 9 o'clock. Nobody's really coming in yet. A few people are coming in, but I went and visited some people, and it was great. It was wonderful. Like, I really, having that connection with others, and which was really something I wasn't expecting, right? Uh, I wasn't expecting to have that type of kind of connection with other people and just sitting and chatting. And it was really, really nice. And so it sort of allowed me to open up. It allowed me to just, I guess, relax, and that was a big thing, to relax. And because sometimes when I go in one of these things, it's very difficult. Now, one of the people that were there, her name is Shauna. Shauna, don't her last name, Domalain. Domalain. Anyways, Domalain. Domalain. Anyways, Shauna's absolutely fabulous. She is a medium. She's a psychic. She's very intuitive. She works a lot with the angels. She does a lot of angelic work. She does lives on TikTok and stuff. Really beautiful, beautiful woman. And her and I, we've worked together before at what was Andrea's store called? Anyways, at Andrea's store, we were we worked together, my brain, together for a short while. We didn't really, like she had her thing, I had my thing, and but lately we've been sort of reconnecting. It's been really interesting. So with no expectations. Again, no expectations. Just connecting. Her and I chatted, asked her a few questions. She asked me a few questions because you got to love it when psychics get together. Like, okay, what about? So we start, you share information, like, it's kind of like, because it's in a safe hub. And you feel like, okay, well, this is what I'm feeling for you. Well, this is what I'm feeling for you. And, because you're able to ask without, it's just like there's no, again, the word expectation. There's just a commodity, a connection. We'll say connection because I can't speak. So this is where I came into understanding, like when I went there, to not have the expectations. Like a lot of times people go in there, well, I'm expecting to earn X amount of dollars. And then when you don't, the thing is that, and this is a real hard one, because I kind of, I believe this, but, I don't, because we all have expectations, but you're disappointed. Instead of coming into the reality of it, coming into the now. That's what it is. See, accepting the reality of something is accepting the now, the way it is, the present moment, right? You're not judging. You're just coming into that, this is the way it is. And that's what I did. I just allowed. So many times when I've gone on expos and I've done different markets, there was I have to, my expectation is I'm going to earn X amount of dollars. And if I don't earn X amount of dollars, it's a shitty expo, right? Oh, I need to do this. And even within relationships, I could take my marriage expectations, expectations of what your marriage would be and everything else. And 37 years, it's not what I was expecting. But because you have, for what is better for worse, what is in sickness and in health, right? You don't know. And here it is. It's like, coming instead of, it's coming into that reality, coming into that grace of the present moment, of the reality of saying, okay, right, here's where we are. And when you come into that presence of the reality, and I believe that's where the energies are really trying to get to us, where we don't go into the delusions or the masking or wanting to not deal with it. And the way that we don't deal with it is sometimes through anger, through spiritual bypassing, or we, push things away. I don't want to see that. Or it's through drugs and alcohol, Netflix, movies, whatever it is. This is, where we had expectations of something, right? And so we will mask it because it just didn't turn out the way that we want. And here we come in, it's like when we come into where we're life, with carefulness, you know, because in understanding that many times when we do have those expectations, it kills the joy. You go on a trip and I expected it to be way different than this. It's where when you say, you know what, I'm going to be open up and allowing, I'm opening up and allowing the guidance of my divine, of my God, of my goddess to help me and guide me in order so that I can embrace the reality of the energies and of the essence of what it is. And in doing that, then you find the joy. Then you find your creativity. Then you find so much more. And that's what I found. And when you run away or run up, the reality of life, and you run up to the reality, you choose and you run, you choose not to run away or deal. And that's the whole thing. It's like sometimes you run away and you don't deal, but you come into a place where there's peace and you come into that connection to the reality. And even though sometimes it may feel or seem or see that the reality that you're looking at is not, it's not nice. It seems overwhelming. It seems too much to bear. But here it is. It's like when you come into that place of reverence and discernment, you come into that place of grace. When you come into that place of grace, you come into the place of acceptance. When you come into the place of acceptance, then you are able to make the changes that you need to make. You're able to look into a direction that you need to look into. But when you come in and, well, I expect it to be this, and it has to be like this, and it has to be like that, then what you are putting upon, then what you need to look is like, what are you putting on your altar? What is that you're putting upon your altar? Because when I look at, when you put certain things on your altar, because then that's what you're expecting. Instead of putting up upon there an openness, an allowance for the guidance of the divine to come forth. And that's the thing, is like doing the novena to St. June, is that I have to then allow it to appear, hey Shar, in a way, or in any way that it needs to appear, right? I can't have an expectation it needs to appear this way. It needs to look this way. And this is where you come into that connection. And when you and I the other partners, just like these little bing bing bings that are coming in through, the other reason why I'm not teaching over the month of March is that doing a lot of inward prayerful work upon myself and coming into different realizations of things, where I feel like, what are the idols that you're putting on your altar? Because when you put, what is on your altar, and that's what makes me think, I'm like, oh my God, I put down so many things that I wanted, you know, and when you look through your life and you're like, oh, well, I expected this and I expected that and I wanted this and I wanted that, and it never turned out the way I wanted. But now I'm looking at, okay, I'm putting out the energy to do, okay, yeah, I'm going to go here, or I'm going to do something. But I want to do it without expecting certain things. I have an idea. Doesn't mean that you don't have the idea of something. Doesn't mean that you don't, um, you know, work towards something, but what it's saying, or continue the practice of what you are doing. But what it's saying is that you come into the moment, which is the reality. And that's where I got the aha. Oh, the reality is the moment. Because you said, like, to be in present moment. You hear that all the time. People say, be in present moment. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? Like, I'm just like, okay, aren't I in present moment? And I just freak out, right? And brain goes off crazy. And then I'm thinking all these I need to get my tinfoil hat with my armadillo and put it back on and saying, holy shit, get the thoughts back in, it's to be in the reality, is to be in present moment. I don't know. That was my revelation. And when you're in that present moment, and that's, especially when I'm doing readings, that's where I'm at. I'm in the present moment. I'm not anywhere else. I'm just there. When people say, well, how can you do, you were so busy. Like, I was busy, like so busy. Jillian came in, and Dana came in, and then Andrea from the farm, and Greg came in, and I couldn't visit. I was back to back to back to back to back to back to back. And I just flew with it. I just allowed it, right? I allowed for that beautiful energy to come forth, for me to be in the reality, which is the present moment, which is allowing for me to accept the grace and the goodness that came forth with that. If I went in there with, I need this, and it has to look like this, then you're coming in with, and I saw it. I saw it, like, or this one woman. I was wondering. I didn't pay much attention to it. She was kind of bitchy and pissy, and then of course, Andrea and Adam handled it, but where she had an expectation of the way she thought that expo should be. She had an expectation. It had to be like this. It had to have this lighting. Had to have that lighting. Didn't show whatever she was selling. Very upset about the whole ordeal, right? And but there was an expectation, and that expectation made her not be in the present moment, made her miss out on something that could have been very profitable for her, right? What I loved about it is that so much moved, because you don't usually see art moving at expos. It takes a lot to sell art, because it costs a lot of money. When somebody does a beautiful piece of art, it costs money because they put their time and energy and creativity into that piece. So there is a price on it. So, but art pieces were going, and it was just so wonderful to see, right? And that's where I'm at with, when I look at where the revolution is coming, where the changes are happening in this world. We get, well, it needs to look like this. We have that. And I'm like, no, it doesn't need to look like anything. What we need to look at is where we are right now and where we need to connect right now. And, this is, when you start to really look at and you really start to think of, it's like, um, I'm not getting religious on you or anything. It just this is my reference because of my background and stuff. Where, okay, an expectation. Jesus comes in. He's supposed to be a king. What is your expectation of a king coming into this world? Charles? Buckingham Palace? That's what you think. Oh, my expectation is that this person needs to be born into this way. This person needs to be this way. Now, for me, as a psychic medium and spiritual love life coach, astrologer, blah, 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 there was an expectation I put upon myself that I need to look like this. I need to have it this way. It has to be this way, because otherwise, then you are not it, whatever it is. You had to be at one time, you had to be the Doreen Virtue. You had to be the Louise Hayes. That's the expectation, right? But it's no. Where's the reality? Where's the reality in that? Come to the present moment. When you come into the reality in the present moment, then you're like, oh, that's theirs. That's their reality. That's their thing. That's not mine, because I'm not them and they are not me. And I have different things that are going on in my life. When I, started, I read the, what is it, Spiritual Junkie book. I think it was by Gabriel Bernstein. And I'm reading it and I'm just like, holy shit, she's so young. Like, she was young, she was single, and it's a very good book. But it's like, wow. I'm just thinking, um, her perspective of where she was coming from was from her reality, from her world. And in reading it, there was a different idea of what I was thinking it would be. But then again, she didn't have the experience or the understanding of being married and having children. She was single and just finished, getting off of drugs and alcohol and having these revelations and everything else. Uh, but again, we can go back. It's like, this time through many of the Christian religions, this is the time of Lent, right? A time when you let go of something that, and you don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to say, "Oh, look at me." When I grew up, it was like, "Oh, I'm giving up my Hubba Bubba," because I love Hubba Bubba or chocolate or coffee. That was the big thing that you'd give up for the 40 days, because it was so hard to give up your coffee. To give up coffee. But it's like it becomes a personal thing without, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. It's my personal thing. It's what I'm doing. It's within my reverence, because I don't want an expectation upon that, right? And I going back to the big J, when for him, where to thinking that, well, he is supposed to be a king. And when you think of a king, politician or a ruler or somebody to come in and save the day, and here he is, and then being told to go into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. And you hear that quite often within many spiritual books. They go for something for 40 days and 40 nights, because that is an activation and change within you. When you do a mantra, you do a mantra for 40 days. So there's different mantras that you can do, and those mantras are for a certain timeline. So you have a certain timeline, even like the novenas, it's 9 days. There's a reason for 9 days, because it's an activation time. And there's an activation that happens within you, a vibration that happens within you that allows for the changes to happen in the outward place. And there is this energy that comes in where he was told, to go in and be tempted by the devil for 40 days and 40 nights. And that's the thing. It's like when you are going through a change, and that's why Lent is 40 days. When you are going through a change, there's an activation that happens. But there's temptations that happen within that activation for all of us, different temptations where you're on a diet and then all of a sudden you you go to the cheese factory, cheesecake factory, and you're like, oh my God, I'm at the cheesecake factory, my expectations, I was supposed to be so good, instead of the reality of, oh, I'm at the cheesecake factory. Okay, what does that mean? Do I have to have a cheesecake? Most of us would say, yeah, but it's like, no, maybe I don't. Maybe my expectation, maybe the reality is that no, I don't. I just need to have a cup of tea with my friends and have something else, right? And that's, coming into a place where we can come into where we can give thanks and we can come into more of a place of reverence. So there you go. So don't have any expectations. Because a lot of times when you have the expectations or you put the expectations upon yourself, it takes away the joy. It just sucks the joy out, sucks it all out, sucks things out of the way you thought it should all look like, right? So I'm going to pull some cards. Steve and I have some adventures to go on today. So, and I've signed up for a couple more, what do you call it? A couple more markets. I got another market with the Pagan Spirit coming up in March. And I have an expo that's coming up in the first week of April at the Blackfoot with Spirit Fair YYC. And that is at the Blackfoot Hotel. And the one in March is at the Glenbow or the Glengarmy Community Center. I just trashed that name. But so I have some more markets to come out. And that was the one thing, is like, I didn't put out, I just said, if this is where I'm supposed to be going, I'm allowing, right? I'm allowing for the abundance. I'm allowing for that. And, I'm not going to put expectations onto that. I'm just going to come into the reality and be in the now. And in being in the now, things worked out, which is beautiful, because we all know markets aren't cheap now, right? Yay, adventure. Yeah. So it's like not to have, to allow for that to go forth. And in doing that, getting my name out. I did want to go to another one, but I don't know if I will be accepted because I think they're full, which is fine. But the other piece to everything is that every other market I've ever been in, I've always sold things. Because there's an expectation. You sell things, brings people to your booth, and I didn't have anything except me, and that was scary because there's nothing, and I remember one time I did this before and I was just, I don't know. I take the ownership. It was on me. It was during the whole pandemic, and I was just, I don't know, I went in there and I think I was just very angry at the whole thing. And, I guess a lot of my ego was in there, and that's on me. That's on me. That's not on anybody else. Right. And that's what you got to look at. You got to look at that ownership of what you're putting on yourself. And with that, I'm like, man, I could have changed that so much. I could have changed that. Also in Vermilion, I'm going to be going to Vermilion on June 1st as well. So I have a few markets each month. I do want to do more. Definitely want to do more, and branch out. So, and do a couple little road trips, but nothing that is either overly too long, uh, because and this is what Shauna and I talked about, because I have obligations. And my other obligation, where being what I do, like when I'm in the moment here, when I'm doing this, I know Steve's waiting for me right now to go. Poor man. I love him today. Like he's just like he's being very patient. But where there is a um where I go out and I do things, but to come back home is very important because of what's here. Either it's, my husband, my grandson, the dog is a huge one. And it is that of understanding that. And it's not bad, but Sean is sort of like we were talking about that of working and how to work with that. So just it just brought in more like, oh, okay, you know aha moments. So having those aha moments were really really cool. It's a practice, though. It is a practice. It just doesn't happen overnight. And having these practices, so we have, oh wow, we have the Empress, but she is reversed. So sometimes when we have those expectations and everything like that, it stops the abundance. It really stops that flow of bringing in what it is that we want. And that comes to me with, even within mediumship, people have an expectations of what the medium should do, what they should tell me. And I'm not like normal mediums. I don't get names or things like that or dates. That's just not what I do. I get impressions, ideas, but people have an idea, an expectations of what happens when somebody dies, and that when I go to that, this person is going to be able to give me whatever. So that's where it's like, you have to look at where your energy is, because when you have the Empress reversed, there's blockages there. So you want to look at those blockages of ideas or creative expression, and you need to utilize your skills and resources in order to manifest more harmony in your life. How do you do that? You got to come into the reality and into the now. And in doing that, this is where something may seem missing, or perhaps there is a need for introspection in order for something, um, in order to question your priorities and your soul calling. So really taking a moment and really looking at that, because when she's when she's upright, it's great, it's energy increasing and everything else. When she's reversed, it really gets you to really come in to um a reverence, a place where you need to really look at the existence of your energy and how your energy is flowing, and honoring that of where your energy is, if your energy is feeling low, and then moving from that. And as you're moving from that, you're moving into a place where, again, you might not be feeling overly exuberant. We have the sun is ingressing into Pisces today and meeting up with Saturn, and you have Neptune there. So you might not feel like, oh wow, because now you're in water, you're in this flow, you're into the depths of the ether. So you're wanting to get out there, you're wanting to move forward, but maybe it's just like, no, this is a real time of breathing, of allowing, of taking your time, of not over exuberating yourself with everything. And that's the thing, is that we do that. We over exuberate ourselves because we want to do here and we want to do this, and we have so many things that we want to do. But this is where you got to look at where you are feeling that and expressing. You might have difficulties in expressing those emotions and expressing that of what you are intending. So your energy is going to feel low. So it's like, oh well, I always have to feel up and bubbly and this and that. And like sometimes you don't. Like today I'm not exactly up and bubbly today. Like, I feel okay, but I'm glad I didn't go. A couple of the girls and stuff, after the thing, went out drinking. I'm just like, man, am I ever glad I didn't do that? Because I really had to come home and just chill, have a shower and chill and just and then go to bed, because you don't realize how exhausted you are until you're done. you know and that exhaustion is definitely there. So you got to take that time and allow for the information to come through with you. And again, you can't really have where, well, I want it to look this way, I want it to be this way. The chariot is ruled by Cancer. So again, we have a Cancer card with the queen there. So it's emotional. So there's a lot of emotion that's going to come in because we're entering into Piscean time. The Piscean energy is very emotional. It's very depth. It's ocean. I keep on saying oceanic. So this is where it's like you might want to, have control over things. You want things to go in a certain way, but you got, the ship is moving, right? The ship is moving, but there's a lot of things that you have to work on. There's a lot of things that you're having, to do upon the ship and look at upon the ship. So little control over particular situations. You might not have that control because you want to have a control over how things are looking and how things should be, but try to navigate through what you can and cannot control. If you are trying to control everything, you're going to find that it's not going to work out. You're going to find that things are going to backlash instead of looking at things. Okay, this is what I need to deal with right now. Okay, this is the moment. I'm in the moment of this energy in order for me to move forward. If I don't deal with whatever's in the moment of whatever it is right now, then I'm going to find myself overwhelmed, and I'm going to find myself edgy, and I'm going to find myself bitchy, and I might find myself not dealing with what is truly around me, and I'm going into escapism, which is very much what happens when you can be in a lot of Pisces energy, into that dream state and wanting to dream and disillusion and all that kind of stuff, right? So once you are able to grasp the reins of your own self and self-confidence, then you're able to take the steps and move into the directions that you need to go into. So there you go. Have a blessed day. My courses for the moon class are coming up in April. I'll just briefly say them now. They're after April 7th. Did I say April 7th? I gotta check. But I know because that's starting the weekend after Easter. 7th, 14th, and 21st, I think. But I know the 14th. I have to look at what I wrote down. I don't have it in front of me, but I know in April. So I have the April ones coming up in Sunday, which are for the moon one, and they're $150 for the 3 weeks. And then we are looking at some teaching classes, and I do want to do some and I don't know how to do this. So if anybody, in around the area of just doing a class or something of in-person class, like doing some in-person stuff where I can either do a talk or teach a workshop in person, and I want to do it in the Calgary area to begin with. So there you guys go. So much happening. Sending you guys out with so much love. And may the Lord and Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you and all you say and all you be and all you do. Have a blessed one, everybody, and we will talk to you soon. So off with the duck.